Hi everybody. Today we are going to do section 5.4 and 5.5. Okay. In section 5.4 we're going to multiply polynomials, multiplying polynomials, and in section 5.5 we're going to do some factoring. Okay. Section 5.4, multiply polynomials. And to begin with, let's start with some basic multiplication rules. Okay. So consider the following. We're going to use this rule. We're going to use the product rule. By the product rule, when you multiply x to the n times x to the m, that is going to give you x to the n plus m. Okay? We're going to use that rule constantly to multiply polynomials. Example. Suppose you multiply 3x, which is a monomial, times 5x cubed, which is another monomial. Here we're multiplying a monomial times a monomial. And note, when we multiply a monomial times a monomial, we use the rule. So this becomes 15x to the what? To the fourth. That's multiplying a monomial times a monomial. If you multiply a monomial, 7x times a binomial, 5x minus 9. That's a monomial times a binomial. We get by distribution, right, everybody? We distribute 7x times 5x is what? 35x squared. And then 7x times negative 9 is what? Negative 63x. So that's multiplying a monomial times a binomial. Okay? Let's multiply a monomial, 5x times a trinomial, 6x squared plus 2x minus 7. Okay. By distribution, we're going to distribute and we're going to apply the product rule for exponents. Correct? So 5x times 6x squared is what? 30x cubed. 5x times 2x is what? Plus 10x squared. And 5x times negative 7 is what? Negative 35x. Okay. So here we multiply a monomial times a trinomial. We can multiply a monomial times any polynomial. Yeah, we can do that. Sure. For example, let's take 2xy, that's a monomial. Note, I'm using more than one variable, times 5x cubed y plus 3x squared y minus 2xy squared minus 6xy. Okay, no problem. We'll just multiply and we're going to use the product rule for exponents. Look, multiply the same variable, you add exponents. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Multiplying a monomial times any polynomial. Even with more than one term, more than one variable, it's fine. Apply the rule. So 2xy times 5x cubed y. That's 10. X to the fourth. Y squared. First one. 2xy times 3x squared y. That's plus 6. What is it? X cubed. What is it? Y squared. Okay. Then 2xy times negative 2xy squared. That's minus 4. What is it? X squared. Is that right? Y what? Y cube. And last, 2xy times negative 6xy. That's minus 12. X squared, y squared. Okay. And so that's a monomial times any polynomial. All you do is basically distribute, okay? And you use the product rule for exponents. Look. X to the n times x to the m, you just add the powers. Okay. Now, let's multiply a binomial. Multiplying a binomial times, I should say, any polynomial. How's that? A binomial times any polynomial. Okay? Let me erase this. Well, let me write at the bottom, okay? Multiply a binomial times any polynomial. Here we go, a binomial. 2x plus 3. Let's multiply this times a trinomial, for example. Trinomial. 5x squared minus 6x plus 2. Here, I am multiplying this binomial times this trinomial. We're going to have to apply the rule, okay? To begin with, I got to multiply this 2x times everybody in the trinomial. Yes, 2x times everybody in the trinomial, and I have to apply the product rule. Okay. The best way to do it is like this, look. Okay, I'm going to have to multiply 2x times everybody in the trinomial, and then I'm going to have to multiply 3 times everybody in the trinomial. And then I'm going to have to collect like terms. There's one way to do it. We can do it like this. Multiply 2x times everybody. So 2x times 5x squared, 10x cubed. 2x times negative 6x, negative 12x squared. 2x times 2 plus 12x. I'm sorry, 2x times 2 is 4x. Whoa, made a mistake there. Okay. Write that again. So 2x times 5x squared is 10x cubed. 2x times negative 6x is negative 12x squared. And then 2x times 2 is, what is it? 4x. This is the long way. There's a better way. I'm going to show you. Now the 3. The 3 times the 5x squared is what? Plus the 15x x squared. The 3 times the negative 6x is what? Negative 18x. And then the 3 times the 2 is what? Plus 6. Now we combine like terms. We combine like terms. Okay? And this goes first. This is the leading term. So it's gonna be 10x cubed. Okay? And then negative 12x squared plus 15x squared is gonna be what? Plus 3x squared. And then we have the 4x minus the 18x is what? Minus the 14x. And finally, we just have the plus 6. And that's our answer. Now, there's a better way to do it. Yes, there is. There's another way to get the answer. We better get the same answer. Okay? Here is another way to do it. First, write the bigger polynomial on top. 5x squared minus 6x plus 2. So I always write the bigger polynomial on top. And then I'm going to write the smaller polynomial below. And it doesn't matter where you write it. You don't have to line them up, okay, because we're going to multiply. So here I'm going to say 2x plus 3. And I'm going to multiply. Better write multiply here, okay? I'm going to multiply. Note, just like I multiply 2x times all of them there, I'm going to multiply this 2x times all of them here. It's the same thing. Except that this has an advantage. I'll show you the advantage. So let's multiply. I'm going to multiply the 2x times all of them. So 2x times 5x squared is what? 10x cubed. 2x times negative 6x is what? Minus 12x squared. And then 2x times 2 is what? Plus 4x. Okay. That's 2x times all of them. Now I'm going to multiply 3 times all of them. 3 times 5x squared is what? 15x squared. And now we're going to see the advantage. The advantage of this is that when I multiply 3 times 5x squared, I get 15x squared, and I'm going to line them up. I'm going to line up like terms. I didn't do it here because I wrote it, notice I wrote it horizontally. But here I can line them up. Okay? So now let's multiply 3 times 5x squared, and that's going to be 10x squared. 10x squared below that one. See the advantage? And then 3 times negative 6x is what? Negative 18x. And then 3 times 2 is what? Plus 6. Add them up. And we get a 10x cubed. Add them up. Minus 2x squared. Add them up. Minus 14x. Add them up. And then plus 6. So here we add. Better write that down. And look at what we got. 10x cubed minus 2x squared minus 14x plus 6. 10x cubed. Hey, wait a minute. Something is wrong here. Okay. I made a mistake right there. What happened? Okay. Here's my mistake. Okay. Where is my mistake? My mistake is right there. 3 times 5x squared, okay? And let me do this again. Do this problem all over again, okay? Do it again. So 2x times 5x squared is gonna be 10x cubed. 2x times negative 6x is gonna be negative 12x squared. And 2x times 2 is gonna be plus 4x. And now 3 times 5x squared is gonna be 15x squared. And then 3 times negative 6x is gonna be negative 18x. And then 3 times 2 is gonna be plus 6. Add them up. And this is a 10x cubed. And this is a plus 3x squared. Because we're adding here, add. First we multiply and then we add. And then what is this? Minus 14, right? Minus 14x and then plus 6. And now if we go back to our answer in the first method, and we get the same thing, look, okay? 10x cubed plus 3x squared minus 14x plus 6. But the advantage is that here we line up like terms, okay? All right, let's do another one. Let's do another one, but I have to erase this, everybody. Gotta erase this real fast. Okay, so here we go. Let's do another one. Let us multiply. Let's see if I can write with this thicker pen. Let's multiply 5x squared minus 6x plus 1 times 2x squared plus 7x plus 2. I think I like the other one better. I better do it the other way, the other method. It's easier because they are both trinomials. It doesn't matter which one I write first. It doesn't matter. So here, I'm gonna write the following. I'm gonna write like this. I'm gonna say 5x squared minus 6x plus 1. And I'm gonna write below 2x squared plus 7x plus 2. And the first step is I'm going to multiply. Okay. I'm gonna multiply 2x times all of them. So 2x squared times all of them. 2x squared times 5x squared is going to be 10x to the fourth. 2x squared times negative 6x is going to be minus 12x cubed. And 2x squared times 1 is going to be plus 2x squared. Now comes the 7x. 7x times 5x squared is going to be 35x cubed. 7x times negative 6x is going to be minus 42x squared. And then 7x times 1 is going to be plus 7x. Okay, now comes the 2. 2 times 5x squared is going to be, 2 times 5x squared is what? 10x squared. And 2 times minus 6x is going to be minus 12x. And 2 times 1 is going to be plus 2. Now I am going to, guys, I'm going to add. Okay? Now I am adding. First one, add 10x to the fourth. Okay? Next, I'm adding plus 23x cubed. Next, I'm adding negative 42x squared plus 10x squared is negative 32x squared plus 2x squared is going to be minus 30x squared. Okay, and then 7x minus 12x is going to be minus 5x plus 2. And that's your answer, everybody. Okay, so this is multiplying polynomials, guys. Multiplying polynomials. Okay. There are some special products. Okay, gotta erase this, everybody. This has to go. Okay, you can go back and rewind it and read it over and over again if you have to. Okay, but this has to go right now. Okay. All right. So now let's multiply special products. Let's multiply a binomial times a binomial. A binomial times a binomial. We call these special products. For example, 5x plus 2 times 3x minus 7. We said that we FOIL. We multiply first, outer, inner, and last. FOIL. Okay. First is 5x times 3x, which is 15x squared. That's first. Outer is 5x times negative 7, which is negative 35x. Inner is 2 times 3x, which is plus 6x. And last is 2 times negative 7, which is negative 14. So that's FOIL. We call that FOIL. Usually outer and inner go together. So this equals to 15x squared. And then negative 35x plus 6x is what? Negative 29x minus 14. Note, this middle term right there is outer plus, and that's inner. The middle term is outer plus inner. Okay? Here's another one. Here's another one. Do this one. 7x minus 2 times 4x plus 5. Well, what's first? 7x times 4x, 28x squared. What's outer? 7x times 5, outer. 7x times 5 is 35x. Inner, negative 2 times 4x, negative 8x, inner. Last, negative 2 times 5, negative last, negative 10. Like I said, like this says, usually, not always, okay, usually, right here. Outer and inner usually are like terms, they go together. In this case, look at it. We add outer and inner because they go together. So this equals to 28x squared. What's 35x minus 8x plus 27x minus 10. Okay. Now, let's, sometimes we have the following. We have 7x minus 2 raised to the second power. Okay, this is the second power right there, second power. Okay. Whenever you have this, guys, my suggestion is write it out twice. Because this power tells me to multiply this by itself twice. 7x minus 2 times 7x minus 2. Okay. If you write it out, you're not going to make a mistake. If you're careful, you're not going to make a mistake. And now you just FOIL. What's first? 7x times 7x, 49x squared. What's outer? 7x times negative 2, negative 14x. Look at inner, it's the same thing. Negative 2 times 7x, negative 14x. And look at last, negative 2 times negative 2, plus 4. Okay. Now combine like terms. So therefore this is 49x squared minus 28x, because outer and inner go together once again, plus 4. Okay. All right. Here's a special one. Here's a nice problem right here. Look at this problem. I have x plus 4y plus 2 quantity squared. Okay? No problem. Here's what I'm going to do. You see this power? This power tells me to take this base and multiply by itself twice. So no problem. This equals to x plus 4y plus 2 once, x plus 4y plus 2 twice. Okay. Now I'm going to FOIL. Watch this. I'm going to FOIL. Okay. So, this is like a trinomial times a trinomial. Look. It's a trinomial times a trinomial. I better do it like that instead. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this x plus 4y plus 2. Let me write that again, making a mess. X plus 4y plus 2, and then below x plus 4y plus 2, and I am going to multiply just like before. Remember that? Okay. So multiply this times all of them. So x times x is x squared. X times 4y is plus 4xy. And x times 2 is plus 2x. Let's see what happens, okay? I don't know what's going to happen. Next, 4y times x. What is that? 4xy. 4y times 4y. What is that? 4 is 16y squared, but it's nowhere to be found. Look. There's no other like term, so I'm gonna write it, I will have to write it here. 16y squared. And then 4y times 2, what is that? Plus 8y. Okay, so this second one here is, this second line here is 4y times all of them. And now 2. This 2x, this 2 times x. Oh, there it is. Write it below this one. 2x. This 2 times y. This 2 times 4y. What is that? Plus 8y. And this 2 times 2. What is that? Plus 4. All right. So multiply 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4y is 8y. And 2 times 2 is 4. The second one. 4y times x is 4xy right there. 4y times 4y is 16y squared right there. And 4y times 2 is 8y right there. And then x times x is x squared, the first line. X times 4y is 4xy, and x times 2 is 2x. Now I'm going to add them up. And this is x squared plus 8xy plus 4x plus 16y squared plus 16y plus 4. Okay, now I'm going to write the answer in descending order. Okay, the degree for this is 2, the degree for this is 2, because this x has a power of 1 and y has a power of 1. So the degree here is 2, the degree here is 2. So I'm going to write this in descending order. So here's the answer. Answer is right here. Write it right there. First, I'm going to write x squared. Then I'm going to write plus 8xy. Then I'm going to write plus 16y squared. Then I'm going to write plus 4x. Then I'm going to write plus 16y. And then I'm going to write plus 4. Okay. All right. And that's the answer. So this is going to be section 5.4, everybody. Okay. Why don't we go to section 5.5? Let's all go to section 5.5. Okay. So I'm going to have to erase this once again. I'm sorry, got to erase all this nice work. All right. So now we're going to do section 5.5. Sorry, 5.6. No, it's 5.5. 5.5. Okay, section 5.5. 5.5. All right. The first step that I need to say for section 5.5 is that factoring is the opposite of multiplication. Factoring is the opposite of multiplication. Okay. Okay, so once we understand that, watch this. I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply a 5x times 2x minus 3. Okay? When you multiply 5x times 2x minus 3 by distributing 5x times 2x is 10x squared, and 5x times negative 3 is minus 15x. Okay, this is multiplication. But we just said right here that what we said here was that factoring is the opposite of multiplication. So here I'm going to factor. On the right hand side, I'm going to factor. I am going to factor 10x squared minus 15x. Note, I got this by multiplying 5x times 2x minus 3. So when I factor this, I better get 5x times 2x minus 3. Because factoring is the opposite of multiplication. So when I factor this, I better get 5x times 2x minus 3. Okay, here's the long way to do it. This is the long way to do it, okay? The long way to do it is the following. Take the first term and factor the first term completely. The prime factorization of the first term, prime factorization, is going to be prime factors of 10 are 2 times 5x times x. That's 10x squared minus 15x is 3 times 5 times x. Okay. Note, guys, look right here. When you multiply, I call this 5x, I call it the animal. And this parentheses, I call it house. Okay. So when you multiply, the animal goes into the house, and the animal is multiplied by everybody in the house. Okay? Once again, by multiplication, the animal goes into the house and is multiplied by everybody in the house. So the animal is 5x, and 5x is multiplied times 2x, and 5x is multiplied times negative 3. No exceptions done. The animal must be multiplied by everybody in the house. Okay. Now let's reverse that. When we factor, the animal goes out. To multiply, the animal goes into the house. That's to multiply. To factor, the animal goes out of the house. So factor, animal, out of house. Multiply, animal into the house. Factor animal out. And everybody must shed the same animal. Everybody has to have that animal. Everybody in the house must shed that same animal, or must have the same factor. We call that the greatest common factor. So what does 2 times 5 times x and 3 times 5 times x, what do they have in common? A 5 is in common and a 5 is in common. And x is in common and x is in common. So the animal is 5x. Does that make sense? The animal is going to come out of the house. The animal is called the greatest common factor, the GCF. So the greatest common factor is the animal. The greatest common factor is 5x. And that's what's going to come out from the house. Okay? So let's bring it out. If you bring out a 5 and an x from this, bring it out of the house, 5x, and here's the house. What stays in the house? If the 5 came out, there it is, and the x came out, there it is. What stayed inside is a 2 and the x. If the 5 came out and the x came out, there it is. What stayed inside was a -3. And we have factored. And note, that's exactly this. Okay? Exactly that. All right. So let's do another one. Okay? That's the way we're going to factor. To factor, we are going to find the greatest common factor. I call it the animal. And the animal comes out of the house. Okay? Here we go. So factor the following. Factor. Factor 15x squared y squared minus 35 now let me use different minus 9 x squared y plus 18 x y squared. And we're going to factor. Okay? We can do it the long way. Look, the long way is by taking each term and factoring each term completely. That's the long way. You can do it like that if you want to. Okay, no problem. You can do that. The fast way is by just concentrating first on the coefficient, the 15, the 9, and the 18. What does the 15, the 9, and the 18 have in common? The 15 the 9 and the 18, what do they have in common? They have in common a 3. So right now, this 3 is part of the greatest common factor, but right now, we just call it a common factor. Note, 3 is in common to 15, 9, and 18. Okay. What else do they have in common? This has an x to the second, but this only has an x to the first. So they all have in common x. And so far, it is still a common factor. It's not the greatest. If you just take out a 3x, the answer is incorrect because you did not take out the entire animal. You just took out 3x. And that's only a common factor. What else do they have in common? I see a y squared there, a y there, and a y squared there. What do they have in common? A y. They all have a y in common, but they do not all have a y squared in common because this only has a y. So therefore a y. And now that you have the last part of the factor, now we can call it the greatest common factor, the GCF. And now we're going to take it out. So take out the animal. The animal is 3xy. And this is the house. If you take out a 3 from 15, what's left inside? A 5. If you take out an x from x squared, what's left inside? An x. If you take out a y from y squared, what's left inside? A y. Okay. Minus. If you take out a 3 from 9, what's left inside? A 3. If you take out an x from x squared, what's left inside? An x. And if you take out a y, this y came out, there's no y inside. And there it is. If you take out a 3 from 18, what's left inside? Plus 6. If you take out an x from this lonely x, what's left inside? Well, nothing, not the x. Okay, this x came out. If you take out a y from y squared, what's left inside? Y. And there it is. Okay? You have factored. Okay? Don't forget, you need to take out the greatest common factor. Okay? Very good. Excelente. Okay. Let's continue factoring. You have this already? I'm going to erase, okay? Erasing. We're still in section 5.5. Now we're going to multiply, now we're going to factor trinomials. Don't forget, factoring is the opposite of multiplication. Okay? Factoring is the opposite of multiplication, guys. So watch, I'm going to multiply 3x plus 2 times 4x minus 3. I'm going to multiply by foiling. First, outer, inner, last. First, 3x times 4x, 12x squared. Outer, 3x times negative 3, negative 9x. Inner, 2 times 4x plus 8x. And last, 2 times negative 3, negative 6. Oh boy, am I? Oh yes, I am. Excellent. Okay, so continue. Okay, we said earlier that outer and inner go together. I even wrote it for you guys. Here's outer and here's inner, and they go together. So this is 12x squared. What's negative 9x plus 8x minus x minus 6. Okay. All right. Okay. It seems to me that if I factor now, if I factor 12x squared minus x minus 6, I better get this. Okay? I better. Now, we're going to do this by trial and error. Note, one thing we do notice, how do we get this quadratic trinomial? How do we get it? By the product of two binomials. Look. So a quadratic trinomial equals to the product of two binomials. Once again, a quadratic trinomial equals the product of two binomials. So therefore, this quadratic trinomial, by what I just said, equals to the product of two binomials. And note, this one here is first. Look, this one is first, this one is last, and this middle one here is outer plus inner, the middle one. So this times that is first. So I'm going to say this 3x and 4x. That's first. And I get 12x squared. How do I get 6 for last? 6 for last, I'm going to say last, I'm going to say 2 times 3. And because it's negative, I'm going to make this a plus 2 and a minus 3. Note, first is 3x times 4x, 12x squared. Last is 2 times negative 3, negative 6. Don't forget, outer and inner go together. They are added together. So here is outer. And what is that? Negative 9x. And here is inner. And what is that? 8x. And you better get negative x. If you do not get negative x, then you have to rearrange these terms. What's negative 9x plus 8x? Negative x. And that's the right combination. Okay? Okay. So let's do another one. This is, by the way, I did it by trial and error. Let's do another one like that. Here, let's try this one. Let us try, for example, this. Factor the following. Factor 2x squared minus 17x minus 9. Okay? Now, we read earlier that when you multiply two binomials, the product of two binomials equals to a quadratic trinomial. Look. So this quadratic trinomial right here must be what? The product of two binomials. So this equals to, this quadratic trinomial equals to product of two binomials. Okay, all right. This must be first, this is last, and this here is outer, this is outer, and inner, addition. This middle term is outer plus inner. Okay? All right. Very good. So to get this 2x squared, that's easy. That's first. How do I get 2x squared? Make this 2x and make this x. What's 2x times x? 2x squared. To get this 9, okay, that's another one. A 3 times a 3. Note, I'm not going to worry about the negative 17x because I'm going to check anyways. I'm going to check outer plus inner. Because this is negative 9, I'm going to make this positive and this negative. Okay? So therefore, I make sure that first works. Let's see. 2x times x, 2x squared. Yes, it does. I also make sure that last work. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Yes, it does. Now I'm going to check outer plus inner. Look. Outer there and inner here. So let me see. What's outer? Outer is negative 6x. What's inner? Inner is what? 3x. When we add them up, we better get this middle term. But here we get negative 3x because negative 6x plus 3x is negative 3x. Hey, I got negative 3x. I didn't get negative 17x. So therefore, this is not the right combination. If we switch those two, it's going to be the same thing. So therefore, we better try a different numbers. So this 2x and x, that's the only choice. But I'm going to try for 3 and 3, I'm going to try